The moment I walked into the ballroom, I heard her say it. Sloane Whitmore, my brother's flawless fiancée, leaned toward her bridesmaids with a champagne flute, balanced delicately in her perfectly manicured hand. Her whisper was deliberately loud, meant to travel, meant to sting. She said that the stinky country girl was here. Her friends laughed instantly, dressed head to toe in designer gowns that cost more than most people's rent. Sloane never even bothered to look at me. I was beneath her notice, an inconvenience, an eyesore that disrupted the carefully curated image of her engagement party. What she did not know, what no one in that glittering room knew, was that I had signed the deed to this hotel 3 years ago. The Monarch Hotel belonged to me. Every chandelier, every piece of polished silverware, every slab of imported Italian marble beneath her expensive heels was mine. By the end of the night, that careless whisper was going to cost her everything. She thought she wanted. My name is Bethany Burns. I am 31 years old and I grew up in Millbrook, Pennsylvania. A town so small that traffic only happened when old Mr. Henderson's cows escaped and blocked Main Street for hours. I left home at 18 and never truly looked back, not because I hated where I came from, but because my family made it painfully clear there was no space for me there. I have an older brother named Garrett, the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. Everything I did was compared to him, and I always fell short. If I earned an A, Garrett earned an A+. If I made a team, he was the captain. My mother, Patricia, had a way of looking at me like I was unfinished, like a rough draft, while Garrett was the final masterpiece. Eventually, I stopped trying to compete. I packed one suitcase, boarded a bus to the city, and started over with $200 and an unbreakable determination not to fail. Everyone back home believed I was struggling. They imagined me living in a cramped apartment surviving on instant noodles, which was true at first. What they never knew was that I took a job as a cleaning lady at a boutique hotel. That job changed my life. I paid attention. I learned how everything worked. I watched managers negotiate, observed how guests were treated, and studied what made a hotel succeed or fail. I moved from housekeeping to the front desk, then to assistant manager, then manager. I saved relentlessly, invested cautiously, and took risks only when they made sense. By 28, I owned my first property. By 30, I owned 3. Now, at 31, I run Birch Hospitality, a company that owns 6 boutique hotels across the East Coast. The Monarch is my flagship, my pride and my proof that quiet perseverance matters. Building something from nothing teaches you discretion. It teaches you to stay silent and let people underestimate you. I never told my family about my success. They never asked. To them, I was still the little sister who never measured up. The irony was staggering. Tonight, I received a last-minute invitation to Garrett's engagement party. It felt obligatory, probably my mother's idea so she could claim the entire family was present. I almost declined, but curiosity and a stubborn hope pulled me here. Nothing had changed. I stood in the entrance of my own hotel wearing jeans and my favorite boots, my hair still carrying the faint scent of the countryside because I had driven through on the way. My clothes were expensive, but understated. Real wealth never needs to announce itself. I spotted my mother across the room, surrounded by friends, bragging about Garrett and hi. Garrett stood beside Sloane, looking proud and oblivious. He had no idea he was holding a losing ticket. Sloane finally glanced at me, her smile sharp and dismissive. I smiled back and ordered a drink at the bar. My staff knew better than to acknowledge me. Wesley Crane, my general manager, caught my eye and nodded discreetly. Everything was running perfectly. In 3 hours, Sloane was going to learn an unforgettable lesson. The party was excessive, full of ice sculptures, champagne, fountains, and enough flowers to overwhelm the senses. I watched quietly. My mother eventually approached me, disapproval written across her face. She commented on my outfit, suggested I could have tried harder, and emphasized how refined Sloane's family was. I told her I came straight from work, which was true. She sighed like I was a lifelong burden and returned to her guests. Garrett eventually noticed me and mentioned that Sloane loved Grandma's necklace. My heart dropped. That necklace had been promised to me. My grandmother had given it to me in spirit before she passed. My mother had ignored that and handed it to Sloane. Seeing it around her neck felt like a betrayal. Layered on top of a lifetime of smaller ones, later, I overheard Franklin Whitmore on the phone. He spoke about needing the wedding to happen and relying on the Burns family's money. That made no sense. My parents had no fortune. Then the truth clicked. For years, I had been anonymously paying their bills through my company. My mother assumed Garrett was responsible. She bragged. They believed the lie and targeted my brother. Wesley helped confirm my suspicions. The Whitmores were under federal investigation for fraud. Their wealth was fake. Their identities were fake. Sloan was not even her real name. This marriage was an escape plan. Despite everything, I chose to protect my family. I contacted my lawyer and a forensic accountant. The truth unraveled quickly. The Whitmores had been running cons for years. Under different names, I sat in my car and laughed at the absurdity of it all. My phone buzzed with a message from Garrett. I stared at it, knowing everything was about to change, and for the first time in my life I was fully in control of how the story would end.